Good afternoon. This is Field Senior Trainer and International Master Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. So today we will cover a very important topic, pawn cover of the king. It is very important to understand one most important strategic point of the middle game. Just a minute. So now the king sometimes is uncastled and opponent tries to uncover the pawn shelter of the king. Sometimes his king is castled and weakens the castle position. And small exposure of the king tend to lead to disaster. I will show you some old games where the defense was very weak in those days, the last century, and the players suffered getting quickly get checkmated. Hello, Ramakrishna Subankar. Okay. Now let us see a game of Alekhine 1930s. E5 is the best move. Now simple. Black should take pawn takes pawn, bishop takes knight f6, and then he will just try to castle quickly. Castle c5 b6. These are the standard procedure. But that that is why I say in the last century, innocently players made such serious errors. Now the king is caught in a center. It is very difficult. He has to cover the diagonal in the sense of the black square bishop. His black king is helpless. Now it was very important that black should have played knight b6. Knight b6 covering the e6 point with the bishop or c5. Both are bad, but at least knight b6 would survive for some time. But after the silly mistake, we need to pawn, and the game is over. So this kind of errors were done in the last century. Okay, maybe I will show one more. Now, now simply a modern player will play d5 and after e6, a3. The position is overwhelming for white. Simply is crushed in the center. After the move d5, black must play e6, then a3, stopping bb4, followed by pawn e4 is crushing. Okay, this is 1922, so this is also good enough controlling center. Now knight f3 immediate e4, there is some sort of counter play is there. So knight b4 can come. So he plays. Now, in order to get an initiative, a player will try to provoke as many weaknesses. Now white can play bd3 and castle. It is an advantage. But why not bishop check and come back, giving a harder problem. Now you have to play c6. nd7 loses quickly to ne5. Or bishop c6 loses to bishop and queen coming to uh, a4 back. Now he should play nd7, try to cover up the king side. Bad. There must be a very reasonable guard. nd7 is also bad, but at least it will give more resistance. After castle, the attack is very easy. Now, whether black plays g6 or h6 or f5, everything is bad. Suppose black will play g6, white will simply play h4, h5. G6, h4, and black plays h5, a piece sacrifice. Now, pawn cover of the king. Suppose it tries, then h4, now h5, and now bishop sacrifice comes. This is winning. You can bring rook h3 also. So it tries to attack the center, but then h5. Now the h file is open. The direct threat is bishop takes g6. Winning that is lost. So in the actual game, this did not happen. In the actual game, it happened after e5. He played. Now white has got already four active pieces: queen, two bishops, and the knight, and also a good center. As I have told several times earlier in my lectures, that in order to attack, a player must meet five conditions. Minimum five conditions. Condition number one: opponent king must be weak. Otherwise, you cannot attack a well protected, well guarded king. Now, you can see black king is very weak because there is not sufficient guard. The knight at uh, f6 is not coming, and he is already exposed that there is a possibility of any time a sacrifice on h6. And also, Alekhine joins another piece. Idea now bring the rook to g3. Okay, somebody may ask, why white is doing this without castling? For example, black pieces are insufficiently developed to launch a counter attack. He is not having any activity. So white is enjoying and bringing the rook quickly into the action. Now you need not prepare. For example, you can play b3, queen d2, and then sacrifice, but there is no need. Direct sacrifice. Forced. You cannot accept after pawn into h6, the queen d2, then king d2, king d7, rook check is coming. So the only move. Now you can see the pawn cover of the black castle position is completely ruined. Now you have to open the game. Pawn takes pawn and pass. So already the damage has been done. So the bishop should return. Now there is no need to waste time. This time is money here. So knight e5. You cannot capture the knight. You cannot capture the bishop. Knight e5. Discuss. After bishop into g5 pawn into, and it is a quick mating attack. And if he plays any other move, anyway knight check is coming. So mating attack, check checkmate, queen check, bishop discover check and mate. Again check. Now the game can be won in many ways, but Alekhine shows the fastest way. Bishop check. You cannot take queen f7 and mate only move, and wins material and with mating attack. So you can see the defense was much weaker in those days. 1920s, 1930s, the players were not aware of typical resources, how to defend a weak position. Okay, even in the modern age, even mature players today also makes kind of error. I will discuss from examples. Let me take you, just a minute. Let me take you to some old games. Now, for example, now this is a Botvinnik idea. The modern players place here knight to e7 to meet queen h5 with knight g6 and also threatening d5. So knight e7 is a more modern approach, but anyway, this is also not bad. That Botvinnik's idea. I would say that here this is not a good move. He could have played simply knight to f3 and gain a tempo because bishop g4 runs to queen e1, but very badly played. The defense was much weaker. Now simply he will collapse. Tempo, Now threatening e5, but then bishop f5. The position of the white king is miserable, and also his material down. Apart from being material down, his position of king is bad and not having any much activity. Terrible now. Now the queen takes f3 and checkmate. So you can see this is 1904. So in those days, they were simply not doing the correct defense. They were playing for only material. Their main thing was sacrifice, and the positional themes were taking backbends, designs. Let me show you some more games. Now Ninja is Taras. Here, the time has now gone 10 more years, and the players are much more stronger. Both are stronger in their own right, and both had different themes. Ninjois wanted a solid position and blockade and positional way. Taras wanted always activity of pieces and attack. They had a debate. Taras said IQP is very good. Ninjoi said IQP is not. Anyway, let us see. Now, it is known to theory nowadays. After C into D5, E D5, G3, BG2 castle, the Rubinstein system is simply very good for white. Now, pawn exponent G3, BG2 castle. Instead, let's pursue. So, black now gets hanging pawns. You need to you need to stop that move, forcing a weakness. But lot of time is wasted. I think he should not have captured a better proposition is rook f e1. Then the position is more stubborn. But this opens the game for black pieces. The hanging pawns normally black will open up the game with the d4 advance, and these pieces are very powerful. Second bad move. Now queen int is also bad. After queen d2, d4 is crushing. Now the two sacrifices. Two bishops are now gunning. I think the position is lost. So hanging pawns, you can see Botvinnik Sakalusi, you can see Spassky, White, Tall, Black in Montreal 1979. That the D pawn advances, then becomes really dangerous for the active pieces of black or hanging pawn side. Two bishops sacrifice. Originally, Laskar showed this theme. You cannot take king into g2. Queen d4 check and rook d5 wins the game. Only check. Now you cannot take rook into f1. Queen check will pick up the queen. White will drop the queen after rook f1 check. Rook f1, queen check. So it is hopeless. Now you can see the defense has become much weaker here. Here in this position, it would have given, of course, here better was not to play pawn. Here the position rook e1 is more stubborn. Instead of playing knight, rook e1 is more stubborn. Must wait for the turn of events. Of course. All right. Let me take it some more games. Now this team, this position you can see in the game Tal Spassky, Montreal 1979. You can see another game also I told you, hanging pawns. Now weaker line. This is a so-called Rubinstein system of French defense. Normally black players plays to draw, equalize. But white has got an advantage in development and center. So this is supposed to be the best line in knight f3. Now knight into knight is weak after bishop takes. Now bishop here, bishop takes, and white is having advantage. because you can't castle. And if you play trying to castle, then bishop sacrifice is there, then castle is there. White is better. You can play bishop takes pawn also, and just castle also is plus minus. Either way, castle. So the center, normally it is very logical. You one should get a good center, strong pawn structure, and two pieces, and a safe king. Then you can go for the initiative. You have to induce some weaknesses in opponent's camp, not necessarily on the king side. The weakness on the queen side can be also lethal, as Spassky is black against Larson, for example. Okay, I will show you after this. No, 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 not this. No, not original game. Original game was B7. Now the queen into D4 is unplayable. Black has now BB5 check is a serious threat. He can't play queen D4, and castle is bad because knight to C6. Now here queen D4 is not possible after castle. Threatening knight check, rook is under attack. Pawn cover the king. Now this is very uncomfortable position for black. The white is preparing rook to E1 and then pawn to D5. White's plan is to play RE1, threatening to play D5. Now threatening bishop into. So this induces a vital weakness. Okay, it was if you place H6, then sacrifice will come. Bishop into pawn. Bishop into pawn will come. H6, he says bishop H4. I don't see why not bishop H6. I think bishop H6 is also possible. Anyway, so in the game, he plays queen to D6 and it is winning easily. Not queen, not the hasty check, then the king will run away and survive for a longer time. So it's cut off. Just like Divyendu Barua versus Ganguly in Mumbai Championship 2015. And now this is hopeless position. He must surrender the queen to avoid mate. Now rook check, queen g4, rook into queen wins easily. So the game I just quoted, uh, Barua Ganguly, similar situation. Where is that game? Spassky. Okay, okay. Here Larsen Spassky. Look, so Spassky was having a classical style, so full development and open line. One of the best ever players in chess history, domination of open lines. Now this is okay, but now the creating some weakness on backward, not allowing pawn to d4. So played a bad move. Idea long castle. Black is having an upper hand. The d2 pawn is backward. He wants to double the d2. Rook d7 and rook double with a terrific pressure. And if black white castles, then he will launch an attack with h5 g5 and very fast attack. So played here f4. This is bad. This is what I mean. You cannot weaken the king's position. For example, now the backward pawn. He cannot play d4. So this is trying to cover up. This is bad. Now the king is exposed in the diagonal. And Spassky with the exploited with great and vigorous energy. The check is threatened. Bishop takes g4 simply will be terrible after check and queen into. Now h5. Strategically is finishing. The point is h4 is coming. Anyway h4, ignoring the knight. Now rook attack. So only move rook. If rook into h8, then rook into h8 with a devastating attack. So he comes here. Now in a classical style, Spassky gives the it's not defendable anymore. The pawn coming with a tempo. Then queen h4 check and pawn g1 queen both threatens. This rook g1 does not help after queen check and queen f. Resigned because after bishop takes queen f2 finish. So what we observe that a simple weakness of the king. Simple weakness of the king. Now f5 and this backward pawn. Now backward pawn he can't come. So he played this bad move. Exposing the king loses. Okay, it is. I will take. I mean, advantage of this position, a theme, and show one of my team. Just the opening phase. The game continued like this: d4, c5. Right as 1994, I was white against I am Varun Vaidya. d4 cd and d4. Now a6, knight c3, queen c7, g3. Now bb4, bishop g2. Now place no right b3. What did he do? He plays knight bishop. Idea bishop takes. I'll take and g7 pawn. So he defends now, giving a threat on the pawn. Now black played a strange queen c4. This is simply illogical and putting the queen in an exposed square. It is bad. So after e5, the knight has no good square. a3. Now bishop f4. You can see like the Larsen-Spassky game. Now you can see the d2 pawn was backward. In the Larsen-Spassky game, what has happened here? The backward pawn. I will show you. Now here the backward pawn is. Now this is a pawn is backward. So here he made the move f4, a very bad move, beginning. The same thing happened in this game, but in the reverse other direction. Now the pawn is backward. So sorry, this is a backward pawn. Cannot come. So my opponent played so that then he says that now next I can play g5 and push you, and the king is exposed and the queen is also in a bad place. So the game is lost because of the simple exposure of the king weakening the pawn cover. Now this position is playable, though it is only little better for white. Plus equal. I would say the position is plus equal. White is preparing queen d2, long castle, and start an offense on the king side. But this is simply lost. Unexpected ND5 comes, taking advantage of the exposed king ND5. You cannot take the bishop has only one square, and now simply lost. Knight to d2. The queen b3. He cannot go queen to c6 or c7. So queen b3. And now bishop e3. You cannot take queen into pawn. Queen is trapped in the center of the board. You can see the queen is trapped in the center of the board. So my opponent played then bishop to f3. He cannot go. Bishop h5 will trap the queen. Knight f4. Now white wins the game instantly. I saw the combination after knight, queen into, and winning the material. I mean, he is winning. You cannot take now queen into. The bishop is winning, and also queen s3. You simply win the exchange. But I wanted to trap the queen, and I anyway got queen trapped and won the game. So what I meant to say, the main reason for losing the game is exposing the king. This kind of exposure. This is bad. So a player should think 2 times before opening king's position. This is becoming suddenly, okay. Let me go give you some more things. Any question? I think it is lagging. Lagging? Yeah, it is lagging. Okay. There is a lag. I can't help it now. Queen to H8, all pieces back and yes. No, I want to see what Ramakrishna says. E4, E6. E4, E6. Now D4, D5. Now in C3, knight F6. Now E5, NF D7. Okay. Now F4, C5. Knight F3, knight C6, B3, Queen D6. Knight A4, Queen B6. Then knight F4. Where is knight F4? Then C3. Oh, I see. C3 and F6. This line. C3 and F6. By NF D7. F4, C5. NF3, C6. B3, Queen here. This has been already, I mean, we have seen this position, this sacrifice in the game Ananda Dream, the candidates 91, maybe when Timan Korchnoi. We have seen this sacrifice. This is supposed to be good for white. Queen A5, C3, B6, BD2, C4. This is supposed to be good for white. No, you have gone in the wrong direction, I think. The position, this is not the exact position. Now pawn into pawn, and then pawn b4, all this comes. Now this one, b4 and b4. You don't have to play b4 here. Why white must play b4? Because only when threat comes, you don't have to play b4. So I think be2 and castle, white stands better. Simply be2 and castle, white stands much better. Okay, let's see your suggestion on b4. I think it is illogical. You need to develop n into b4, cb4, bb4. Yeah, two pawn for the piece, but I mean now see pawn c3 is a threat. There is a threat of pawn c3 and queen bishop and bishop is unpleasant because you have some check and compensation. But here, instead of playing this sacrifice, be2, preparing to castle is better. I think this is compensation for black. Black has some good compensation. All right. Now let me go. Okay. If not b4, then if not b5, then b4 is. Yeah, b2. I recommend here. You must say b5 is coming. That's okay. Now if b5 comes, no, why you must play bb2 now? Why you must play bd2? I don't think bd2 is required. Okay. Anyway, if there is some new novelty development in theory, I have not updated myself. Let me see, Ramakrishna. This line I will check it. So what I mean to say, coming back to the topic, the olden days they were playing lot of illogical moves, weak defense. So they were getting, for example, this game between Capablanca versus somebody. Half time. Now you can see this is Greek side. That in those days they were simply not worried. Now this sacrifice is winning. Can't accept. NG5, King G6, Queen D3 will crush. So, and taking the bishop, knight check, Queen S5 crush. Now the king position is so weak. Not only a pawn down, but pawn cover of the king. Suppose we replace the C7 pawn at this point, it's a playable game. But this is pawn cover is not there. So king is so badly placed. And Capablanca finished it off. Grand Queen H5 check and mate in 3. Score check and just I was quoting about the game. I was quoting about the game Barua and Ganguly in the national championship 2015. Okay, just a minute. Get it. Even though Barua was a very good attacking player, and it's there or I have to check again. Yeah, it is there. It was 2000. Now knight into pawn is not playable. I have discussed that. Anyway, I will quickly show. Knight into pawn, knight into knight, and queen takes knight. You have queen d4. You have got queen d4, or maybe you play knight b6 and then queen d4. Knight b6. Now queen d4. Now bishop comes, and now when you come c4, you cannot defend the. So that knight into e4 is unplayable. So he goes back. Okay, cannot take the pawn. If you take the pawn now, for example, you will not be able to. The g7 pawn will be hanging. It's bad. Cannot take the pawn still because bishop check h7 and queen h5. So bad. It looks like appears everything is okay. The exposed king position, the weak king without a guard, bishop f6 finish. Now the threat of queen g5 is just crushing. So only now simple idea. Rook f3, rook g6, rook g3. Now if he tries to run away, this is over. No stopping the mate. Okay, he can stop at the cost of the queen, which is not correct. Okay, all right. So what I meant to say, you one cannot compromise with the castle position or the pawn cover of the king. If you are in center also, you have to make a note of it. Let's see this one, 1923, old games. Two bad moves in a row. First of all, knight f3 is okay. Same piece moving two times. Better you have to play bishop g5, queen d2 long castle, or g3 bg2 castle. Bad. Another bad. Now simply the pawn is attacked and is preparing to bring the queen, join the queen in attack. Now white carelessly takes the pawn. hoping that after knight into g4, or if you play queen h4, pawn f3 will survive. Pawn f3 will survive. But there is a shock waiting for the white. Instead of the mechanical queen h4, simply a check. Over. You have to take only move, no other choice, but then queen. Checkmate. So, I mean, a player cannot compromise the castle pawn cover of the king. There must be a sufficient guard and open lines. These are the things. Now look at this position. This is Rubinstein, and black is also an attacking player, but the position is horrible. Now white wins simply. The weaknesses, the squares are weak. I mean, the squares are weak. So the queen is there, bishop is there. First you try to enter. The simple threat, the queen going to h6 is too much. So he stops that. Now bishop. You can't prevent the bishop entry. Ignoring the rook. Now, if rook into rook is a check is coming. So ignore that. No need to capture. Bishop f8 and it is hopeless. So the pawn cover of the king you cannot compromise. Especially opponent pieces are active and your opponent's king is safe. This becomes lethal. Hello? Yes, Ramakrishna, I will see that variation. What you are saying. I will see the improvement. I will check it. Yeah. So I go to the next example. I think I have showed you this already. Now, not many, two or three more, the old games. This is very passively played. The knight normally belongs to f6, bishop at e7. Simply crushing. If you go king h8, queen h5 is over. Idea if you h6, h6, finish. So you cannot go, you have to accept. But then the threat is queen g4 or queen h5 is coming. Idea he wants to defend. Check and over. So these are old games. It is enjoyable. I saw some book, uh, 1001 Checkmates by Fred Renfield or Erwin Cherner. 1001 Checkmates. Such games you find where the pieces are not developed, nobody cares for center, and they don't care for the key position. 1001 Checkmates. Illogical moves. Is falling for the bait. This is falling for the bait. Play more modern in open game e4 e5 one has no time to grab material. You have to develop your pieces as rapidly as possible. d5 itself was a mistake. D5 itself was a mistake. Finish. The position is now too much. The sacrifice on h6 is coming. The pawn is pinned. Forced. Cannot take pawn into bishop, queen check, and queen h6. Pawn into bishop, queen d6 and finish. Otherwise, you lose the queen. Of course, you can see several weak moves. For example, this is now nc3, nc6 is correct. Then white may play d4 or white may play bv5, bv4 equal. bv5, bv4 with equal piece. Or you can play d4, right into pawn. Then this is the correct move, right into and pawn into e5. Okay. This is possible, or maybe BD3, then D5. Yes, white stands slightly better. Okay, let us. I will not discuss theory. My theme is to pawn cover of the king. Now you can see simply has compromised the positions without worry. Now queen f6 is threatened. Knight f6 is threatened. Knight g6 threatened. Really, you cannot take with a rook and after queen into queen f8 is a mate. So all this is several weak moves. Now you can play knight f6 and here this is correct so far so good. Here you should play here actually a waiting move. Maybe instead of castle you can do also h6. That is also possible. Okay, leave it to old games. One or two more old games I'll show. This is a position. It is black to play. The reason is he cannot develop easily. He cannot develop. His look into d7 is coming. He wants to prepare pawn to b6 and bb7. With the idea, rook. Now the point is the rook is coming to d3 and king cannot move. King cannot move. Knight check is coming. The queen is unprotected. Now rook e3. So he plays rook b7, rook e3. Now idea rook b7. So that when rook g3 will move. After now he gives a support with the idea rook g3 can be met with king h8. But unexpected rook queen e2. More active pieces. Design. Mate is following. After pawn into, there is a mate follows. After queen f pawn into check. And now there is I don't see any good way to protect them. So these are the things. So what we observe the illogical moves, irrational play, resulting lot of weaknesses and getting crushed quickly. I will give you some modern examples. So I have told you already so many old games. Let me give you some modern examples. Normally IQP, this play is more important because if you exchange some pieces, then there will be no initiative. The player playing with IQP must get some activity for pieces. Otherwise, he will settle with a weak pawn in the end game. Good play. Correct move. Rook G3 is not correct. Here, Rook G3 giving trying to threaten. Here, he has time. So, the good move. Now, NC3 is bad and white stands better anyway. So, place here. Queen to B6. It was better to play knight into C3. It would have given a tough resistance. But now knight into. If you play knight into, then the queen will enter. You can say queen will enter the game with queen to d3 or bishop queen to d3 and bb1. Now queen h5. Of course, he will defend, but now the queen always hanging on the king's throat. Now you can't play h6. The sacrifice will come. The simple threat of bg5 is coming. bg5 is not working here. The reason is after bg5 you threaten, the king can run away. Bishop on x6, f6 will be a good defender. So you have to be very patient. Now the direct threat is rook g7. Rook into g7, king into g7, bishop h6 is pressing. You will get mated. So you are forced to weaken. Threatening, queen into g6 is bad. The knight into g6 will come. G6 is bad. I think knight into f7 will come. After g6, knight f7 is crossing. He is not allowing any kind of activities. Says threat. How to attack the position? You need to bring an imbalance in the castle pawn structure of black. So I give you time. Please think and tell me how should white conduct the attack. White has met all the conditions. Black king is weak. Number one. Center is good for white. Number two. He has all sufficient 4 5 pieces in attack. Then he has got everything ready. How to go for the attack further? Can somebody tell me how to conduct the attack? Can somebody tell me how to conduct the attack? How should white push the initiative further? It is very simple, logical. You need to weaken the pawn cover of the opponent's king. Ramakrishna ng4. ng4, you will exchange a vital important attacking piece. Ramakrishna, instead of ng4, think of the variation g4, g5. You think of the variation g4, g5. What a move. We should avoid exchanges because we are attacking. Exchange will reduce the attacking prospects of white. So this makes two bars at one shot. The back rank is clear. Number one, the back rank is clear. Number two, g5 is annoying. You cannot play h6. Anyway, g5 will come. Only move. There is nothing. The plan is g5 and g6. Now you have no time to retreat. There is no time to retreat on g6. Then cracking. Only move. Lost. Rook is attacked and queen into g6 is more or less obligatory. and after rook g3, and now double attack. Queen is attacked, rook is attacked. What I mean to say, the pawn cover of the king. Of course, player who has seen a lot of games of Mikhail Tal can easily understand how Tal rattled his strong opponents. Weakening pawn cover of the king. I have selected lot of them. This topic I cannot end today. I guess this topic will take around 8 to 10 sessions because it will be interesting and also instructive to conduct the middle game. Yeah, Swankar G4 was great, nice idea, and Kasparov has used it also in some of his games. You see, this I have selected today how many 28 games, but I made this one. How many games I have selected here already? Already I have selected some maybe 100 games. So I am going to take 4, 5, maybe 7, 8 sessions to cover this. This is a very interesting topic. Pawn cover of the king. It is right from romantic era till today. Games, the themes are clear to understand. Same theme occurred disguised in modern. Yes, sir. Sir, you are 100% right. The themes repeat from the old games. The themes repeat in modern miniatures also. And thank you very much for your comment. Srinivasan sir was a very senior IS officer and also an ardent lover of chess, and he has helped many chess players and organizers. Thank you very much, sir, for being in the session. All right, now, no, I will see these games. First, let me say the games which I have selected today. Now, let us see Mo versus. This is uh, this is called so much. What is called? It is Belgrade Gambit. This is called the Belgrade Gambit. Black is playing the best way. B7. So now the threat is knight b5. Not correct. This is not correct way. White is preparing simply g4, g5. The black's plan of attack and pawn offense is very slow. Black has a plan. Black wants to play b5, b4, a4 and open. But white is faster here because white has the move and also white gains a tempo with pawn g5. So white is ahead in the race of the pawn stop. H4, g5, and now white is much ahead in the stop. Of course, this is the fastest way, and now pawn check. Castle pawn structure is just ruined completely. All now what white wants to join his queen on h5. That's it. Save it so that the queen is free to come to h5 quickly. It's over. And he can join with a tempo. Rook check, queen check, and queen h7 check, and the direct rook h8 is a threat. Lost. So you can see that pawn race, for example, I would say the game Anon versus Kramnik, the pawn stall, where white has got several tempos compared to black's pawn storm in the queen side. I can show that game, Anand Kramnik. I'll come back because the theme is same, so it is worth seeing that game. Kramnik. Maybe, maybe I should search the diagram wise. It is easier. E4 C5, knight F3, knight C6, E4 CD and D4, NF6, and C3. I think queen B6. I think queen B6. I guess this is the one. Just a minute, please. Give me a minute. I think world championship. Yeah. You can see the pawn storm and rattling the pawn cover of the king. Now A3. Necessary. You cannot allow white E5. Then he is pushed away from the defense of H7 and the attack is very quick. So copy. Necessary. Now white black wants to start the pawn storm with B5 A5. But as you can see, now white is so much ahead and in a tall style pawn G6 capture than H5. White is much faster than black. Now F6 is very annoying. Now the pawn cover of black king will be opened because F6 break, G6 break, and the D6 pawn is weak. The F5 is attacked. G6, rather only way because anyway threatening both pawn. You can see the pawn cover of the black king is now terrible. There is a threat on C2, but white ignores. Now Vizia Anand played pawn in because after bishop into C2, queen C2 is winning. Lead to checkmate. So you can he ignored that, and after bishop into bishop, rook into the attack is unspoken. The H file is open, and the center is also very strong. Now Anand played simply a tempo. The idea the bishop has come to block the H line, but a tempo, and after the move, knight C4. Now queen C4 check is too much. He is unable to stop, and it is leading to mating attack. So pawn cover of the king, sometimes you get an advantage in opening, and that becomes lethal in middle game. So the whole variation is bad. You can see the game Anand, sorry, Adam versus Denjwek. Michael Adams also won brilliantly. Maybe I should show that game. That also deserves attention on cover of the king. Let me show you. What is this one? We need. White is Adam, black is this one. I'm talking. The same variation. So queen b6 is simply illogical. Now bringing the queen early in the game is just bad. This is too much. Now the d6 weakness. Any moment an exchange sacrifice can come and is now not allowing mobility. Jack, finish. You cannot defend that. Now you cannot take pawn into the bishop is too strong in the diagonal. Cannot take that. Excellently played. Now one of the key, the struggle is going on the square in the diagonal. This is the defender. So hit the defender. Now again another fine move. Cracking on the defender. Knight into b7 and d6 is undependable and the black diagonal will improve. Still the for academic interest I will show further. Rook into. The bishop is more important than the rook. He cannot accept the rook. Now king b7 fails to queen g5. There is hopeless. He will lose the bishop also. And there are too many pawns, queen and too many pawns for two rooks. So what I meant to say, the whole variation is bad. This is the whole variation is bad. Also, if a player plays e4 c5 knight f3 d6 d4 cd and d4 and c3. Now in this position also the queen b6 is also bad. This is also bad variation. Who is that player? Let me tell you. Kurnosov. I think Igor Kurnosov versus RB Ramesh. That game. No. It is Borovio. Borovio versus RB Ramesh. Let me try to check. Borovio. Yeah, it is that game. I mean, the whole point is early queen sortie is not advisable. Now, for example, knight b3. Good move. Now this e5 is bad. E5 is bad. That's a terrible weakness. So n e5, but now tempo and then f4. Knight g4 is bad. After the bishop retreats to g1, he will gain further tempo. So white has got a decisive advantage. Development center space. I think it is plus minus. The position is very extremely difficult for black. The king in center, you need to open up lines against the king. Then already the d6 pawn is bad, and also e6 is the weak point, and the king is unable to castle. The queen side is also bad. Cannot defend the d6. Bishop s3 is also coming. So a desperate counter attack, but then now intermediary. Now queen into d6 you cannot allow because e5 point is cracking. The only move, but then knight d7 and he must lose the game quickly. So So what I mean to say, the whole concept, the whole variation of Queen B6 is bad. Like Adam Kanjvek, like this is Anand Kramnik, or this game. Ullman versus Mariotti. Not a good idea. Now, in the Botvinnik era, Botvinnik used to play like this, get the Marokzi bind and survive. But that was in 1920s, 1930s. But this is already so much of development in opening. And d4 is now break the bind. Black pieces are very awkwardly placed. Overwhelming. C4 is bad anyway, so takes. Force rather. I did. The king in the center. Now, if black castle already the pawn cover is weak. The pawn on f6 has terribly weakened the position. Now I give you time. Please think and tell me how to conduct the attack in such a position? How to punish? Mr. Bankar, these ideas will occur in your mind if you practice, if you look at some old games also, classic games. When you see, analyze some classic games, you get these ideas. It is not defensive mindset. For example, Petrosian is one of the greatest defender, but he never missed an attack. I will show some games of Petrosian. How he punished the bad pawn cover of that. I have selected a lot of beautiful games of Petrosian. This topic I am going to cover several sessions because this is one of the most important topic, and I cannot just rush and show you very quickly some 20, 30, 50 examples. So I will take some more sessions and discuss certain positions in great depth. We have to analyze. We have to analyze. Analysis is the best thing. For example, let's say this kind of position. Now, white destroys black. For example, here, rook overprotecting. So now I am freeing my pieces. Threat. Now b6, he loses the end game. I mean, after b6, white will win knight into b4, bishop into queen, rook into queen. Overwhelming. The position. Okay, there is no mating attack, but it would win easily. This is too much. A pawn is weak and file in control. No counterplay. Next bd5 exchange. Overwhelming position. So instead of going, he plays now king. Okay. Let us see how to attack such position. How to attack. Yes, rook d1 was played, as you say, rook d1 was played, and now after king to h8, white conducted the attack, knight f4. You look at the position. If you play knight into pawn, of course, white is still better, one pawn extra, and you will win slowly. But the need of the hour, knight comes to king side. The direct threat, knight g6 check, and rook h4 and mate, which is difficult to defend. Not easy. You must surrender the queen. After queen to e5, knight check, pawn into rook check, and he will lose, surrender the queen and lose the king. NB4 was winning, Ramakrishna. NB4 was winning, but this is a mating attack. Okay, so let me go to the next game. Like Romanin Singh is a great player, very talented. Bishop to h5. A thematic move that now white cannot castle easily in such a bad pawn structure. And castling long also is also dangerous because already he is having queenside some attacking chances. Check, castle. Now white does not have the sense of danger here. White feels he is very safe. His idea king h1, rook g1, and bishop f1, everything okay. After king h1 or rook to e1 and bishop f1, he thinks he will cover. The queen is entering to h4. Now, the idea is feeling safe. The whole point is white defense is based on after bishop e5, f4, the perfect position is perfect. You will able to survive. But the f4 defense is killed, bishop into f4. Of course, as Srinivasan sir said that all these things are worked out in old games also. Okay, going to the next one, next example. Karl versus Van der Weyden. For example, white stands better. Compensation for the pawn. Now he gains a tempo and white has got initiate. Now f5 will open up. Now white has got already good center, good control of open line and comparatively safer king. Challenging him to take this bishop. Taking the bishop is losing immediately. After takes, rook check will kill him. Idea, queen e2, rook check and queen e2 95. So only move. Still he cannot take it. Now it looks like that black is okay. He can defend the d6 check and then he will run away. But now rook into f finish because he cannot decline the sacrifice and queen check king to g8 is only move. But then now knight f6 mate and after the defense rook f finish. Brilliantly conducted the attack by Tal. The pawn cover of the king was finished. Now this is a game with John Vanderbilt is black. You suppose. This is also about pawn cover of the king. Okay, you can play either way. Also, BB4 is possible here. So white has got better game now because black knight on c6 is kind of blocking the pawn and it's bad. Luckily for black, the Greek sack is not coming, but now the threat he wants to play queen to g4 and knight e4 with a crushing position. The immediate threat is bishop h6. Okay, king h8 does not. If you play king to h8, then knight e4 with the initiate. So he plays g6. Now you can see the pawn cover of the king is compromised. So Yusupov demonstrated the idea is simple. Want to exchange the dark square bishop with bishop g5 and thereafter the f6 and h6 weakness will return. Over protecting the center. Knight into d4 is unplayable because take twice and knight check wins the queen. So only gaining time. Basically, he wants to gain time so that only move. And now bishop rook is coming to third rank and exchange the dark square bishop and then it is completely destroyed. Now the idea is knight check and if you take queen into mate. So he stops that and after rook f3 is a threat, bishop g5 positional exchange is a threat and as I told you n into d4 is unplayable. I think of a sacrifice and hesitate and go later on. Find my calculation was right. How to how, okay. This is a very simple problem. I will tell you, Ramakrishna, you need to analyze the game on your own and write down the analysis. I mean, Botvinnik asked once a group of students, he wanted to give a lecture. So, lot of talented players gathered. Then Botvinnik said, okay, give me all of you, give me your analysis book. Nobody came with a book. Then Botvinnik said, my young friends, it is too early for you to come. So you come after 1 year, come with your analysis books. So you have to analyze. You will get rid of all these problems. You will feel confident. You need to spend a lot of your own time and writing also. So why writing? Because you will check the analysis later. Suppose you get the same position and your analysis fails, then you can always improve. So it is important to analyze and write the analysis. I think this is where you can solve the problem. So there is many attacking plans here. The position, white is threatening rook f3, white is threatening h4 and bishop g5. h4, direct bg5 also. You can play bg5 directly, you can play h4 also, you can play rook f3 also, h4. Idea, after bg5, h into g5, then f6, there is outpost. Threat, what else? You cannot play pawn to f5 and person will kill, only. And now, material up and also positional crushing. He cannot take pawn into pawn because after pawn into pawn, e6 coming. Rook attacked and f7 attacked 3 times. Finish. Back rank is clear already. There is no tricks, nothing is working. You must avoid e6. E6 is a serious threat. 3 times attacked f7 and it is lost. Anyway, it is lost. Anyway, it is lost. But knight into pawn is a quick death. But anyway, he cannot defend it. There are many plans. So pawn, yeah. So I hope you will take my advice, Ramakrishna. You write, analyze in great depth yourself, preferably alone, preferably alone, and write the analysis. That is what I used to do, but I was lazy not to write. I was always analyzing my games and positions, but never I was so lazy in writing. The pawn cover of the king. Now you can say this is like Karo Khan. This is 4 versus 3. I mean 5 through and 4-3. It is like okay. I will show you this position. It is like e4, c6, e4, d5, bd3, and c6, d3. Now you can see the position 4-3 and black has got 5-2. So in such a situation, that minority attack is not coming because black is tempo down in the variation. Here, if this can come, this is devastating. Black is very happy, but black is unable to. He has to develop the pieces and castle quickly. All this thing he doesn't get time for minority attack. Whereas in such a situation, reverse column, the same diagram. We have the same diagram here. Reverse column. That 4-3 and 5-2, but here the minority attack comes because white is 2 tempo extra in the variation, but black has attacking chances. So that I can play knight to f8 and free my position. Now this is not the best way. I mean wasting time. For example, white is not committing. White's original intention is to attack. He wants to castle and then storm the pawns. But if you will do immediately, then black will play b5, a5, b4. So he is keeping his cards close to his chest. He is not opening his intention. Ah. So it is clear when opposite side castle, pawn storming. Sometimes we sacrifice a piece to open up the position. We give a pawn to open up the position. So both will try to attack each other. Pawn storm plays the key role here. Not this hasty. The knight a4 will block the pawns. pawns. Knight a4 will block the pawns. Now idea, all the black squares of the castle position will become weak. The pawn cover becomes weak. Context pawn is bad. So there is a vital weakness. This square is very weak now, and the king also is a target. And now black square, bishop and queen will play havoc there. Grandmaster know very prophylactic way. You never know when this lightning will strike. So in advance he goes away from the line of rook. Cannot tolerate a knight near the king. The simple plan is preparing to play c5. C5 break is coming. There is no time for BB5 because after there is no time to play BB5 because the knight will enter here. Family. There is no time. Knight E4 and family pawn. So you can't play that. Bishop B5. Queen E1 is not. It is too late. Too late to play Queen E1 to avoid because in this case that still will have play. I think how we can conduct the game. How can we conduct here? Just let me think. Now maybe one idea is to play pawn b4, aiming at a sacrifice on b3, knight into b3. Direct knight into b3 is not working, I guess. Knight into b3, pawn into pawn check is not working because queen exchange will take place. Knight into pawn, white will exchange the queen at the first opportunity because after pawn into we have a check and still not easy because bb4 is coming. After knight into this is bad. Now check, then bb4 is coming, but he will exchange the queen. So I would say here the queen e1 was interesting idea. Anyway, so in the game he played here this. This is overwhelming. The knight f6 cannot come. Force rather. The threat is rook into b3. The threat is queen into queen c3. The pawn cover becomes. It is a position of color complex. Only black has to worry that sudden back rank threats would not come. So if back rank is clear, the game is over. So he has time. Since there is no immediate threat, you have time to play h6, king h7. Position of color complex. Any moment, RB3 continuously has to watch. Idea, queen c3. Idea, now finish. So because after pawn into a2 is killing. An excellent attacking plan, and I like the way Spassky played king to h8 because he had a feeling for attack. So no sudden counter shock. So this move was really timely and good. Here, when he played rook, this is fantastic. So deep he has seen, calculated the variations. Okay, the next one. Ragged and smashed. There is a threat bishop into c3 and pawn e4. Objectively, the white position is not bad. Bad move here. Here, I would say at this juncture, the position you should have played here bishop d3 and then I mean pawn into pawn and then pawn e4. Probably pawn takes pawn was the best way. Pawn into e5 was the best way. But after castle, there is a problem. Where the knight is going now? Now, if he goes to knight to b3, there is no guard near the king. There is no guard. And be3, the black will destroy the white's castle position. After be3, knight b3 is bad because after bishop to b6, then he has a lot of problem on the king side. And after be3, a fantastic combination. The idea now pawn into h3, bishop into d4 and knight check. Finishing the game. Now this is finished. Now pawn into loses, bishop into, and now whatever you do, it is bad. This is also bad. Now in this case, I have time to survive. Knight into, queen into, and I am pawn up. This is a one pawn extra. So this is lost. Pawn cover of the king. It's all theoretical position, and white is slightly better because the e4 pawn is overextended, and black can destroy, and white can destroy that, and white gets better center. White center is simply superior. Very well played. Now Pontex pawn is it is a very easy game because center will be crossing after pawn into c4, knight d2 and pawn e4 will cross. Difficult decision, very difficult decision because white is also weakening his position, but the fight for center. No, in the middle game and opening, the main struggle goes for center. He who controls the center now he will have the initiative. Now white is desperately trying to take control of e4 square. Okay, bishop takes pawn will come under the rook scanner. Rook scanner, so he is not ready to take. Check. Now the reason I selected the game. Normally we exploit a bad king situation with queens on the board. In this particular position, white destroys the black king even without queens on the board. The attack comes very dangerous. The threat is bishop into knight and knight f7 check. Unfortunately, he has little choice. No other move. Bishop into pawn is back rank, only move. Seventh rank. Now white destroyed with pawn to f6. Finish. Bishop into d5, there is a back rank mate. Not mate exactly. Then, yeah, it is rook check bishop and pawn f7 lead to mate. And pawn into pawn, rook into h7 mate. So it is a very instructive game. And I guess, I suspect this fully home preparation. Okay. This is fully home preparation, and anyway it is very instructive. Without queen, he is going for a strong initiative. Now, so I want this is Arnason demand. Now I can see now the black pieces are coordinating well, so he gives a full rook. You have to take it. You cannot decline rook sack because if you take it, then simply the discover check and king g1 loses to king e7. King g1 will lose to king e7 and rook check is coming. And if you play other way, now it is here. This is lost. And if you play any other move, queen into rook and with initiate. Now rook check will run it. Now rook check is not the best way, but excellent forced and winning. So you can see pawn cover of the king, but activate of the pieces. Whole rook sack. I also gave him one of my game long back in such a sacrifice. Okay, white is Bent Larsen and black is Jens Christiansen. You can see the pawn cover of black's castle position has become very loose. Lot of weak squares. I mean, the pawns to h6, f6. When a square cannot be defended by a pawn, it is called a weak square. And now you can play h5 and open up the game. And the main defender of the weak square is the knight on e4. So destroy the knight. Destroy. The only move you can't decline. There is nothing. Rook e7 doesn't work. After rook to c7, simply he loses to rook check and winning quickly. And queen a6 means queen d1 finish. Now queen a6, queen d1 is finished. Idea rook into f7 and followed by mating attack. And if you play rook c7, then rook check and queen e8 will finish. Now rook check and now queen e8. It is too much to handle. So the only move here is rook attack, counter attack. Check. Now f5 loses to b5. f5, I want to play b5, and now queen b5 loses to pawn takes pawn, and then this is finished. Idea queen h1 and queen h8 and betting at. And if you play instead of f5, if you play h6, that is also losing. There is no time. Finish. The idea is knight f6. Rook is under attack, and the immediate threat is knight into f6. Now rook into b5, knight f6 is crushing. Anyway, knight into idea queen d4 check. Lost. So this is weak squares and also centralized pieces. This is very normal. Destroying in taking any shape. Okay. Now Victor Kostanay was very famous for his line NE1 and ND3 and quick C5. So here in one of his encounter with Garry Kasparov, so both are specialists in their line, and Kasparov comes ahead. The main line. This is called the Bar del Plata variation. So what's your name is mentioned. Okay, I will show that game where I gave a rook sack. Okay, Subankar, I will show that game after this. Now, this is a standard pattern. Here, white has two plans basically. Black has two plans. One idea is to play rook coming here, and then rook coming, and then the rook against the king, and then going for a quick attack. Then the queen is ready to come. Sometimes rook you play h5 also, by bringing the rook directly to this point, and then bring the queen and attack. But instead of playing this way, the variation a4 is you have to play very carefully. This is a Portonoi is expertise, and he beat many strong players with this line. But here Kasparov played the best way. The second set, right? Second setup is instead of rook, the other setup is bring the knight to g6, knight to f6, and play g4 break. Now g4 break is the key. One of the idea that rook is coming, your rook is coming, and then pawn into and knight is coming to n10. And once the knight comes, then there is a problem on the squares, and you have to be very careful, and you cannot weaken the a6 etc. Okay, so quickly defending so that you can defend the d6 point. It's a very difficult decision, very difficult decision, not common when you are trying to kingside attack. Now black wants to seal the line. The bishop plays a key role in attack, not only supporting this, but sometimes you have to sacrifice on s3. Thematic break. Now black is able to channelize. He has got already six pieces in attack. Six pieces. Two knights, two bishop, queen, and rook. The only thing now you need to exchange the black square bishop and seize the h5. You cannot give the dark square bishop. You cannot give, but it is difficult. Now the threat is simply rook is coming and it is overwhelming. So it tries to liquidate. Well, now bishop g3 is coming. Bishop into f3 will be finishing the game quickly for black. It is difficult. There is simply no answer. Betting attack. Lost. These are thematic pawn cover of the king is destroyed. Okay, Suvankar, you wanted to see that game. Alright, I will tell you what game it is. I played the French defense against RB Ramesh, and I played a very odd line. Odd line. Do I have this game? I don't think so. Yeah. I remember that game. Okay, I can find the game. See, this was played in Commonwealth Championship, Mumbai 2003. The idea, this is not a great line. The main idea, the knight is going to exploit this weak square. Knight wants to come here and go to the weak square. Then bishop has no place. Now, as long as black has not played c5, bishop check is meaningless. Pawn c6 is there, bd7. So bishop e2 or bishop d3, then this is very annoying knight move. So knight f3. Now white is at a crossroad. Advanced variation is bad here because knight on d2 is very poorly placed. Because c5, and c6, queen b6, you will have a problem. So advance is bad. And now bishop d3 or b2, knight f4 is annoying. So here the correct move is to play c3 because now black must commit. He must either take the pawn or plus, or you can play h4 also. You can play h4. That's fine. Now c3. Then black must commit. You cannot stay long. So here instead of playing c3, my opponent played here Ramesh e5, which is bad. The advanced variation is bad because of the poor placement of knight. Now c3 is bad. c3 you play in c6. Now or maybe queen b6 first. Queen b6 and now bishop a2, knight and knight here. You can take pawn into and a5. This is very annoying. Now after a4, bishop check. Unfortunately, he has to play king f1. Otherwise, you lose material. Now bishop d2 is bad. After bd2, bishop into d2. You can't play knight into. You cannot take queen into. That is why a5. That is the reason a5 weakens the b3 point. And now bishop. That is why you cannot play the advanced variation. Here you need to play nb. But then pawn f6. And now black is add in space and also problem center. Center is crushed. Nothing. Pawn into pawn simply is bad. Pawn into f6 is just bad position. So after b2, pawn into, knight into, knight into, only move. Otherwise, we will consolidate extra pawn. Now the point is, just come. Now the f2 point is weak, and a rook shot comes. Lost. If you do not accept, it is unavoidable next mating attack. And after accepting, all you need queen into and bd7 and castle, finishing the game. Now the check, and it's a mate in 6 because after bishop takes, it is check and mate. The only move, seesaw mate. So here itself he resigned. On this check itself he resigned. Alright. Now I'm coming to the point, but I will tell you the whole line is bad. The whole point is here, simply here what is the move? C3. Instead of playing NB3, he should have played C3. The position is plus equal for white. So this is a kind of odd line for Taras. Also, you can play another line. I read in the book of Grandmaster Kovacevic, a French book. Here, this is interesting. Also, this is interesting. Which is anyway, white is little better, but black player must know how to handle. All right. Thank you, Suvankar. Let me take you more examples from my selection. Zero versus Ivanchu. Manila Olympiad, 1992. It's a Stonewall touch. I would say here, this instead of this may be more flexible. With the idea castle b7, and after castle we can play queen to e8 and queen to h5 with some attacking chances. So d5 is a committal. It is interesting, this variation. It is an interesting variation. But played d5, the stone wall. That is the reason knight f3 is more committal. Here, I would say more advisable is knight to h3. After d5, you can play queen c2, d6, you can play bishop f4, castle, and d2. And followed by you can play knight to f3, and he has a good position. And eventual exchange of bishops, and knight f4, knight e5. White is better. Okay. Or if you play bishop to e7, not intending to exchange, then white should play knight idea, then knight coming to this point, and then seize the square. Seize the square. Followed by f3, e4. The one knight on d3, one knight on f3, then n f3, e5, and then seize the center. Well, anyway, now instead of playing this, knight s3, he played here, knight f3. The idea, this is, you want to exchange white's comparative influence. This is a strong bishop because the mobility of the this kind of pawn structure. This is bad. So you want to exchange the bishop. Strategic exchange. And queen e7 will not stop because a4 will come. Anyway, he will exchange. So a strategic exchange is planned. I think it was better to play. Carry on, stick to the strategy you are following. It was better to play this. Trying to complete the development. Pawn cover of the king is becoming weak. The example I have selected is you cannot weaken the king position. Okay, e4 is a strategic punch in the against the Dutch defense, but necessary. Otherwise, Black will play e4 himself. I think Black has taken upper hand now. So this was in White's mind, so that he is cutting down all the possibilities, want to exchange thereafter equality. But unexpected, you have to continuously watch f1 and f2. Now the point is tied down, and Black has a clear-cut plan. He wants to bring his rook to rook a e8, rook e6, and rook f6. It's very difficult. Idea: rook to e6, rook to f6. So it is becoming too much. So before it becomes too much, he played here with some. How should Black play now? I give you time. Hello, Clara Alonso. How should Black play now? Black finished the game brilliantly. Now Black finished the game brilliantly with knight f2. And after bishop into bishop, queen f3 design. Two mate threats. Knight h3 is a mate, queen h1 is a mate. Lost. The pawn cover of the king should not be weakened until unless it is forced. If you weaken, you suffer. Do I have time? Yes. I think I have time for this game. One more game I will show. More to the point here, this is more modern. Knight to g5 is a more modern approach. As it played in many games, computer, Deep Blue versus Kasparov and Andrei Sokolov versus Karpov. So the threat is knight into f7 and queen into e6. So knight b6. Also possible is here bishop to d3 when queen into pawn is bad on account of knight and then knight e5. This is also possible. So here place this. The idea is now you want to establish knight on e5 and then this will fall. White stands better. Making a room for the knight is plus. White has got fully mobilized now. White has got fully mobilized. Queen b5 is not possible. And White has better control of center and good prospects in the middle game. Now, Black is at a cross. For example, if he will castle short, then he will destroy the castle position. So it was advisable that Black should now castle long. Even though it is not a very safe castle, it is better than trying to castle short. After knight coming, he defends. Okay, there is a knight into pawn is not a good idea. Now, if you play knight into pawn, the king h1 will come, and after that he is going to lose a piece. So, he decided to go back. Still, bishop into f2 is unplayable. This is a wrong decision. The king is comparatively safer. Means it is a lesser evil. Both are bad, but castling long is less bad because the white pieces are more poised to attack the king side position. I mean, if the bishop was on f3, it is more lethal. But the bishop is aiming here. So it was better to castle. Though it is also bad, but less bad. But now he castles. Pawn cover of the king. Bad. I should make it red, not blue. Check. There is no time. There is no time for f5. It will lead to mate. f5. Okay. You try to defend with b7 also works. Check. Check. And finish. Lost. So b7 was bad. And anyway f5 is also bad. f5 also knight check. And now queen. Immediate one more mate threat. Now bb5 is losing to knight check followed by rook into and no defender. No defender of task square. Hopeless position. His He's threatening bishop into g8, and anyway rook moves, bishop g8 wins the queen. So it is not working. And if in the game, he played in the game b5, check, and ng5 check. Oh no, f4 and ng5 check, ng5 check. Now whatever you cannot take the knight, pawn into knight loses. Whatever you will do, now there are three variations. King d6. Now three variations. ng5 check. Now h into g5, you get knight check and queen g5 mate. And if you play king g8, knight f6 check, and then queen into, and then queen g5, and then rook f3 mate. Now you take it, queen into g5 mate, and if you move queen h7 and queen f7 mate, and finally king g6 or d3 is finished. Finish. Nothing is working. So I have covered a part of this topic. I am going to a sudden rise. It is Gukesh is a very young star, and he is focusing very well, and he has reached a quite a respectable rating, 2715 live rating. That's great. And I saw that he has defeated two world class grandmasters, Caruana and I think is he playing Mohamed Yaro today, or did he win against Mohamed Yaro? He has defeated Zero. So I think it is meteoric rise. However, there is because the tournament and match play is different. So a player's strength will be tested in a match. So we have to wait, and I think he's a great prospect for our Indian chess, and I wish him good luck. Okay, 2730, very good. Because one day to bit before, 2 days before, I saw the newspaper 2715. Fantastic. It is meteoric rise. Great. So I have covered a part because I will do this topic on cover of the king, how to attack. For example, now I will show some games of Petrosian, who is a positional player, but when there is a chance, they also attack. So I will cover so many games, and I'm going to also accumulate more games. Probably take 6 or 7 more sessions to cover this topic in great detail. So I will cover it tomorrow, same time, 3 p.m. Okay. See you friends till that time. See how many games I have kept. This many games I could not cover today. Maybe around 15 games. And also I have selected whole lot of games. Already so many games. I was just checking. I will give more games and discuss maybe thematically. Take care. Bye.